He's somebody who I admire as one of our amazing CCS graduates. So, Ndubisi, he graduated from CCS in 2015 with his B.F.A in advertising design. So, yes, we have another advertising graduate this week. And he is an award-winning multidisciplinary artist. And when I say multidisciplinary, when we talk to him, you'll get to see he does some of everything. And he really has a passion for art and design that tells a story. Through his drawings and murals, he creates unique stories to motivate, represent, and inspire people throughout the African diaspora. And he's worked as an art director for many advertising agencies. He's worked for clients like GM and FCA Chrysler, or FCA. Fiat Chrysler. He simultaneously has done many murals for companies like Universal Music Group, for the Carolina Panthers, for Mercedes Benz, HGTV, and many more. So in both his commercial advertising work and fine arts work, he continuously finds ways to enjoy what he's doing and excel. And he's based right here in Detroit, where he graduated from CCS. So I am going to add Ndubisi to the live here. Oh, there he is. So we can get in on these questions. All right, I think it's the man of the hour. Welcome, Ndu.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Brandy?
Well, look at you, got your art in the background. You were ready for this conversation.
Try to do a little something.
It's appreciated. That's a dope piece too. Is that a picture that was used as a inspiration for a mural?
No, it was actually it was a large piece I did for HGTV a couple years back.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. And now it's in your home. All right. So I'm just going to jump right into these questions. If you have nothing else you want to say about the intro.
No, you're good.
All right, let's go. So bring us up to speed. What are you currently doing in your career? Where are you? What company you're working at? What are the projects you're working on right now?
Cool. So right now I'm working for a nonprofit called Give Merit. It's in Detroit, Michigan. For those who don't know. Basically I'm the creative director there, so I do all of the marketing, advertising, collateral stuff there. And I do lead all the creative for our brand partnerships as well. And that's what I do currently, and I'm also running my own business, my own LLC, where I do all of my murals and design work and freelance work on the side.
Yeah, I know you talk a lot about that on your Instagram about that
Yeah,
hustle of running your own business and making sure you're being compensated for your work and all that.
yeah.
Cool. So you're doing two things at once. You run a business and you're working for a company. That's pretty amazing. Do you feel like there are things that CCS that helped you to prepare for starting your own business?
Oh, for sure. They had like classes from day one. I just had to pick some of them. But before you graduate, they give you a branding class. They also give you a business class. But back then, I didn't know I was going to start my own business, even though I had already started freelancing. But yeah, I took those books and read them once I graduated for sure, and they came into practice very quickly.
Cool. Okay, so the reason I do these conversations is because I work in admissions. I have a lot of students who are in high school who are aspiring to, get out there and be creative in their careers. And it looks different for a lot of different people. So I want to paint the picture of your journey for students who may be watching. So if we are getting a time machine, we're rewinding back to high school in Ndubisi. You were at Cass Tech, right?
Yep, Cass Tech.
High school. Go Phoenix, not just way. So we're rewinding back to high school days. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing as a high school artist. Were you working on a lot of things? Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do as a high school student? Tell me a little bit about high school artists in Ndubisi.
So it's pretty much the same. Back in high school, we had to pick majors at Cass. So mine was graphic communication. So I was learning Photoshop. By my third year, I got it down, like pretty much helping being like a teacher assistant, basically. And by my senior year, my friend Ryan Wright, he introduced me to Syncor Reed, and he got me into his advanced computer graphics class. So then I was learning how to do traditional art from him on the side of doing the computer graphics class. So back then I was doing all the same stuff I'm doing now. I actually even did a mural, my very first mural back in high school in CAS. So fast forward all this time later, I'm actually doing it as a career. But yeah, that was me.
So you knew that you wanted to do advertising and design work. You had your eyes set on that vision from the get-go.
Well, I knew I wanted to do design, not necessarily advertising. I didn't even know that was a thing back then. I saw a lot of ads, obviously, but I didn't know it was something I could do necessarily. I wanted to be the best graphic designer possible back then. So I was like hand setting typography, like doing stuff on letterpress, like all type of stuff. So back then I didn't know of advertising.
Got you. What introduced you to advertising? What you got you into that field as a major at CCS?
So rewinding back to high school, I actually was doing a lot of creative writing. I was actually in what was it called then? Superhero Poets, but it was actually an offshoot of Inside Out Literary Arts Project. Yeah. So I was a part of that. I was like a performing poet for a while. So in my creative portfolio, I had a lot of poetry as well as graphic design and some like traditional artwork as well that I like hand painted and stuff and a bunch of graffiti. And it wasn't my choice necessarily. At the beginning, I was dead set on going to graphic design. But my good friend and former entrance person, Sabrina Nelson, was like, maybe you should try advertising. She was like, I could tell you like telling stories and painting a picture for people, so maybe you should try to do that. And it actually worked out. So it was good advice from her.
Sabrina knows. I mentioned this on the last live, but she's admissions counselor of the Stars.
Yeah.
She's actually on this live. Hi, Sabrina. Shouts out to Sabrina.
What up? What up?
She was many of our admissions counselor, and she has that gift for saying, maybe you want to check this one out. I'm glad she did, because you've been killing it in the advertising field for a while now. Even being somebody who just graduated in 2015, that seems like it wasn't that long ago, but
man,
you got a lot
I still feel like I'm going to see Mark soon.
Yeah, you got to come back and say hi, your old chair. So tell me this. Did you apply to other art schools? Were there other schools that you were considering when you were applying for college?
Yes, I actually applied. I was dead set on going to University of Michigan stamp school. And I went through 2 of the reviews, and they were like, this stuff is not that great for this school. Maybe you should try another, like a junior college or something. So at that time, I like completely started my portfolio from scratch, and I was like, I'm gonna try to go to a better school. I actually even took a risk and turned down a 4-year scholarship to pursue my art passion. So yeah, it kind of worked out.
It worked. Not kind of. It worked. So you had some other factors. What made you choose CCS then? I know you said you applied to some better schools. What made you choose CCS?
It was a combination of Sabrina and Mr. Reed. I met Sabrina. She actually came to CAS recruiting. And I didn't know anything. I had never heard of CCS. But I told her, I was like dead set. I was like, we ain't got to talk. I'm going to U of M. I'm doing this, and this. And her and Mr. Reed were like, maybe you should apply. Just apply to the school. I know you're going to U of M. I know you're doing your thing. But just apply. And me and Sabrina weren't even talking about art at the time. We were just talking about music. She actually put me on like Corinne Bailey Rae and a bunch of soul music. And I was like, maybe I should try this school, because she was really cool. And she actually connected with me as a person more so than an artist. So it was just a personal connection to those 2.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Cool. All right. So we talked about what made you choose CCS. We talked about what made you choose your major. Can you tell me one thing that you learned or gained from CCS that really impacted you?
I would say the knowledge base, basically, because I've always been good at art. Always been artistic. My whole family pretty much is artistic in some way or another. But I didn't know the craft, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't traditionally know how to draw. I didn't traditionally know how to do graphic design. I didn't even, if you can remember, I didn't even know the programs. You were teaching me how to make grids and stuff in InDesign back then. So I actually had to like grind to like traditionally learn the processes other than Photoshop, other than Illustrator. So it taught me the craft pretty much and taught me the rules. And after I graduated, I knew how to break them in a responsible way.
Yeah.
So it just taught me the craft pretty much.
That's awesome. Awesome. Is that your wife that just joined?
Yes.
Hey, Brittany! Hello! I love y'all. All right. So for those who are just joining, I want to mention that this is a live Q&A. So I have some questions I'm asking in Ndubisi, but please, if you have questions for folks who graduate from CCS, who are working in their career, running their own business as an artist, please add those to the question feature here on Instagram, and I'll make sure that Ndubisi gets to check them out so we can get them answered for you. All righty. So we're pivoting into your career now. We've got the idea of high school in Ndubisi, a little bit about college age in Ndubisi. So let's talk about your career. What's been your favorite assignment in your career thus far? You've done a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm subscribed to your newsletter. I'm like, it don't stop. So
Yeah.
what's been your favorite assignment?
Let me say. My favorite project I can't even talk about yet, because it has been released. But I think the most significant one in my career was my first project at Commonwealth McCann, in addition to my first mural, because they both came at the same time, and they were both the same thing. Basically, you were pushing me to do a mural that I had never done before, and
I
on
push you hard, bruh.
yeah, I definitely didn't do it until the deadline.
Right.
But funny enough, the advertising side, I was doing a mural for GM. On their design team, I was the only art director on their team, and they were doing this gigantic mural wrap for the Singapore office that was just opening up. And I was just seeing the corporate versus the artistic side of doing all the different types of design, and it was just fun. I like led the team that did the coffee mugs and T-shirts, and also approved all the graphics for the wall murals as well. So it was just a fun duality between both of those fields. So yeah, that was
The
most
creative and
significant.
self-led and the more
Hmm.
design based and corporate.
Yes,
Cool. And
yes.
I didn't realize those were happening at the same time, which is pretty
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, that was my first
But
project out of school. Well, in school, also in school, but yeah.
yeah. So tell me this, how many, because I remember, you said you were doing murals in high school, but in your, CCS plus career, how many murals have you worked on to date?
Uh, I've lost count. It has to be at least 10, oh, 10 plus, like big corporate murals,
Hmm.
and they just keep coming. Been really blessed to keep the opportunities going on further and further and further. So
Hmm.
yeah, more than 10 for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So here's a question, because not only are you a dope career, artist, but you also win a lot of awards and residencies. One thing that's amazing about you, Indu, is that you're always looking at ways to grow. You're always pushing yourself, and you're sharing that journey with the world. So what would you say is the award or residency that you're most proud of?
Hmm. I would say my last one, which was Beltline Walls. I was a resident there for their residency, which is basically a mural festival in
Is that in
Atlanta.
Atlanta?
Hmm.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that one, it was just me, like you said, I'm very ambitious. I always apply to stuff, even if I'm like not qualified yet, or if I'm overqualified in certain aspects. I always want to like keep pushing myself to do different things. And that process was just, I didn't have any context there. I just applied online. And they hit me back and they were like, yeah, we want you to do this, this, and this, but you got 2 weeks to do it. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was just, she wasn't here yet. I don't think she was here. Yeah, she was. She was here. Edit that part out, but she was here. But yeah, that was like crazy. The timing of it was crazy, and it was just fun. I knocked out a whole 40 foot by 30 foot mural in less than a week,
Yeah.
with a friend in Atlanta, and that was crazy.
For those who need context, Naomi is your daughter, correct?
Yes, Naomi is my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah, my father lives in Atlanta, and we always go by the Beltline murals, and we're obsessed with them every time we go. So when I heard you did one, I was like, huh? What? That's so
Yeah,
amazing. Congrats on that.
thank you.
All
Thank
right. So last question from me, and then I'll open it up to our viewers. Knowing what you know now about
you.
creativity, about career, about the journey from being a high school artist to a person working in the industry,
Hmm.
what would you tell your high school self? Is there anything that you would go back and share with your high school self about applying to college, applying to art school,
Hmm.
things like that?
Uh, you're not the best. I would tell myself that. because I thought I was the dopest artist. Because I was really good in my high school. Like everybody knew I did art in high school, and I had a lot of favor from high school. But I thought I was the best, and just because I would also tell myself just because I was good at it doesn't mean that I was the best, and it doesn't mean that I can't learn more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's one of the biggest things I learned at post high school was there's a million people that are good at art, but that one doesn't mean that you'll get opportunities, and that doesn't mean that you are the best in your field. Because I guarantee there's somebody in DPS right now that'll destroy any of us in art. But I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
just depends on your opportunities and who you know. So yeah.
That's a beautiful lesson to take away, not only for high school artists, but for adult artists.
Mhm.
Is that you can always learn something new. There's always room for growth and improvement. So that's wonderful. Oh, look at Sabrina said you grew into it well. All right, so I have someone who has a question. So I'm going to pull up the questions. Make sure you ask your questions, folks, in the either in the chat here or in um, the Instagram questions section, so I can send those to Ndubisi. I see that Tucson, I believe, has a question.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, while I wait for questions to pop up, here's one. Was CCS an out of state school for you?
No, it was right. It was right up the street from my high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I literally could walk to it. And it was the funny thing was it was a bunch of us from Cass that and Renaissance that went to CCS and we formed like a little group. So we all supported one another and we were all like had each other's back. Like we all had the saying 6 in, 6 out. Like we all graduated and we all were gonna get in our fields and dominate. Um, and it was just amazing. But yeah, it was right down the street from my high school.
Mm-hmm. Are you still in touch with a lot of your CCS peers who you came in with from Cass?
Almost all of them. Yeah. Yeah, if we're not talking about art in a group chat, we talking about gaming. Like we just hanging out. Like we keep in touch with each other for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
So, question from Tucson. How do you feel secure in yourself and craft, especially in a space where there are so many others? And as you said, this is what that student's saying. And how do you also know that you are not the best, but still feel secure and focused in your craft? That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a big question. So I can feel secure in myself because I know what I'm doing it for. I know what I'm doing this art for. I know what I'm doing this design for. I'm not trying to be the best necessarily. I'm trying to run my race basically. I want to get as good at my craft as I can. I want to be better than I was the last time I had out. I want to make better art than I made before. And that, I guess, would be why I feel secure in my craft, as well as my faith in God and all that stuff. But definitely because I'm running my own race and I can't compare myself to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And the second half of that question, let me see.
How
Uh,
do you know that you're not the best, but still feel secure and focused in your craft?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I answered that.
Yeah.
Um, just being better than I was last time, basically.
And the student follow up asking, how do you navigate through any insecurity? That's a strong question. I want to hear that from you, but I also have some suggestions from the
Yeah.
admissions perspective to help with that too.
Yeah. How do I? I'm trying to find the question so I can read it myself.
Yeah, so it's how do you navigate through any insecurity?
I mean, I just keep going. Like I don't think you can escape insecurity as an artist. You just have your motivation. Like I said before, you have your motivation on what you're doing it for, but also continually just knowing that you can get better. That you're not done. Like you can always get better. You can always improve. You just compare yourself to yourself. Um, I know Instagram specifically, you can see a million different artists, but I mean they're not you. I mean you can't make art like them, and they can't make art like you can. So it's just competing against yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know for any students out there who are wondering about those same things when it comes to applying to a school for art and design, I have a lot of students who I interact with who are like, I love art, I do it all the time, but I'm scared to apply because I don't think I'm as good as, they look at, their peers on Instagram or people they know who are currently in school and they're nervous. And I always tell students like, let someone look at your work and talk to you about it instead of assuming that you aren't strong. I have so many students who they show me their portfolio. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's so many students I look at where I'm like, your portfolio is stronger than mine, and I got it. And it's not a comparison thing, but I know from a CCS perspective, we're looking at potential in students' portfolio. We're looking at somebody who is showing enough passion and, you know, basic skills that they can be taught and can learn. And so, you know, whether you're a, you know, student trying to get into school, or if you're somebody already, you know, done with school in your career and you're looking to, you know, build some confidence, sometimes it's helpful to just talk to somebody who is in the practice of looking at art a lot, and they could probably help you with your perspective a lot. Because in the same way that you talked about your ego in high school, like being big, you're the best, there's some students with equal skill sets who think they're the worst, and they're not. So yeah. Any other questions for Ndubisi? I feel all inspired. I'm like, I need to go make some work. One thing I mentioned in my story before this live is just like how multifaceted you really are. So not only are you doing murals, you're doing advertising, but you're doing all different kinds of content too. When I saw that you made your own gifts and that people can like use them on service, I'm like, who just does this besides the Ndubisi's? Always, or like I know you did that like joke site with Jay Norm at one point. Like, you guys are just always thinking of ways to be creative and push the boundaries. All right, we have another question that came in, which is so exciting. So let's see. What are some tips you can share with creative sons to not sell themselves short? Even if it's an amazing opportunity, what strategies can creatives use to negotiate without sacrificing their morals or their boundaries?
Okay.
These deep questions, yes.
Yeah. So let me try to answer that in parts. We are our own worst critics. Okay, that's brilliant. That's true. What can you, I mean, what can you, I mean, I've been on both sides of it. I've definitely sold myself short on work and opportunities. I've taken opportunities and had to quit those same opportunities because I sold myself short. And you have to always bet on yourself. I know that sounds cliche, but you are your biggest investor. Like, you know what your potential is, you know what you can do and what you can't do, and you know where your integrity lies and what your morals are. That's all up to you. But yeah, you got to have strong people around you as well. I have Courtney as she jumped in the live, and I'm very confident in the negotiating and all that type of stuff. But Courtney can come back and be like, "Yeah, you didn't negotiate that well. Like, hey, you should think about that twice." So I have a strong team as well as my friends and stuff. I shoot them notes because I mean I don't have all of the answers. I'll ask them like, "Yo, does this make sense? Does these negotiating tactics make sense to you guys?" And sometimes they'll be like, "No, that's not smart. Like, based on what you've done, that's not smart. Even if there is a big company or a big agency, maybe you shouldn't do that opportunity because it doesn't seem to fit for you." So yeah, I mean that's the answer I would give for that.
That's very true. I know I've taken on some things creatively in my career where I'm like, it's a big opportunity, but it's not my opportunity. And it's easier to ask yourself those questions beforehand. Like, why would I be taking this? What would it mean? You know, what is it going to do for not just my pocket, but like for my soul, for my creative journey, things like that. Ask yourself those questions before taking on something, because it's much harder to back out of something once you sign up for it, you know? For sure. All right, so we get some more good questions. Oh, this is a question. So this person asked, were you always a mural artist, or did you have to learn to navigate and narrow down what you want to specialize in?
Nope, I was not always a mural artist. If you heard the story earlier, I don't know when you got on that specific person, but Brandy was pushing me to do it. Like, she was. That's part of having a good, strong like group. Because she saw my potential in that area. I was like, I've only drawn on 8.5 by 11s, even though I had done a mural that I completely forgot about in high school. She had that confidence in me and pushed me to do it, and it turned into a wonderful career that led to bunches of other opportunities. So it's just having that strong group around you. And I don't think I actually specialized. I always knew from day one, like first day of drawing, I knew I wanted to be creative, but I didn't know what I wanted to specialize in. And to that fact, even now, I have like areas of creativity that I specialize in, but it's not I only do this or I only do this. I'm very open to what I can do creatively because from a corporate standpoint, people cross over all the time. Like graphic designers turn into muralists, turn into account people, turn into like whatever they want to be. Creativity is not very that super focused. And if you are, great for you, but I don't tend to look at it that way.
Yeah, the industry is shifting in such a way where it's helpful to be somebody who has, multiple um, streams of creativity, right? That makes you more
Yeah.
adaptable, more marketable. So someone
Hmm.
asked a question earlier. I'm actually going to answer this one for you. So the student
Okay.
asked, if CCS was out of state, do you think it would be worth the money to go? So if you were coming from out of state to CCS, I just want to emphasize for anybody watching that CCS's tuition price is the same for in-state and out-of-state students because we're a private school. So the
Mhm.
cost doesn't vary if you're coming from out-of-state to CCS. Just want to make sure folks know that. Thanks for pointing that out, Sabrina.
I can
Uh,
answer too. Yes, if I would, a lot of my friends and my cohorts and the connections that I have are not from Michigan. I watched Aston's last live, and I met him through CCS. I met you through CCS. I met tons of people from Miami through CCS. I met Jason Maiden through CCS. Like I met endless connections, and I think that was worth the price of tuition. Like the connections and the opportunities that I've gotten post CCS and during CCS are well worth the tuition. You just gotta keep grinding. You gotta keep going at it because you will just see that big number. You don't think like it's worth it because of the financial aspects, but you're investing. That's how you have to look at it.
and getting a return on that investment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Man.
Big old return.
So we have, I feel like is that a CCS alum? Or is that the brother? I don't know everybody's Instagram handles. One of the Norman
Oh yeah, that's
brothers.
that's that's Corey. That's Corey.
Hey,
Yep. Yep.
Corey. So Corey asks, how often do you work outside of your comfort zone? Do you think you grow as a creative the more you work in general, or the more you challenge yourself?
I think it's the latter. Because I feel like every project I'm out of my comfort zone. Because just the project I can't really talk about. It took me way out of my comfort zone. I did a ton of murals and a ton of different type of collateral that I wasn't really comfortable with, and I feel like every project, whether it's fine art or commercial art, it grows your creativities in different ways. Yeah, so I think it's the latter, the different projects and the way I work in commercial and fine art grow my creativity in an interesting way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's a great answer to that question. Um, since Corey's not alive, I'm gonna message you soon. I'm finding all the alumni. I'm gonna come get you.
Yeah, that
We
boy
actually
a
have a
legend.
few. We have a few other folks lined up, and I'll be posting and promoting the lives, closer to those dates, so that folks can get ready to ask some more questions. So for those who are just joining us, yes, Corey. For those who are just joining us, if anyone else has questions for Ndubisi, want to make sure you get them in before we end our live today. This has been super, super inspiring, super insightful.